Hey everyone, as you probably guessed from the title and um, look at my face, we had a big loss this morning. Um, Came downstairs and over by the front door I found where one of the cats had thrown up sometime during the night. His food, and then there's another puddle of like some frothy yellow stuff, which is from when Smokey was sick a few years ago. I know it's the bile from the fluids from the stomach getting regurgitated. I then found a couple more puddles over by the other side of the coffee table. Couldn't find Casey. Eventually found him behind the end table, which he goes back there, or he's gone back there to sleep and stuff at times. But he wasn't really responsive. He was awake, he was breathing and everything, but he just was not responding. Went in the kitchen, came back to clean up the messes and recheck him, and he had come out and he was sitting over in front of the recliner. He was swaying back and forth like he's having trouble holding his balance while sitting up. Ran upstairs, came back down, and he was over by the closet. And so I was like, okay, maybe he's just not waking up yet. Give him a little bit of time to, see if he's going to wake up, see what happens. And I came back downstairs, and he hadn't moved at all. What concerned me was his eyes. Even though he's laying down, his eyes were completely dilated, which didn't look right. And so I was about to call the vet, and then he threw up a couple more times with that yellow foamy stuff from his stomach. And called the vet, and they had to get him in right away. Normally, for years, ever since he's been down here with my vet, he would have to be sedated to go into the vet's office. He didn't even fight me getting him in the carrier this morning. Got into the vet's office, and they checked him over, and he was literally letting everyone handle him. The vet was concerned too about his eyes being dilated, because normally you put your hand in front of a cat's face, especially someone that the cat isn't familiar with, and the cat normally would flinch or react or something, and he was acting almost like he couldn't see. I put my face down in front of him, and he didn't respond. I'd pet him, he wouldn't respond. He was breathing, but he wasn't purring, wasn't moving, and he did defecate some in the litter box or in the carrier, which is not normal. Anyways, they took him back, did some blood work, everything came back negative. And they checked his blood pressure, everything, blood pressure checked out normal. His body temperature was down. That's one thing I noticed too when I was at the vet's office, was that he felt cold. Normally you pet him and you feel the warmth of the body and everything, but he literally felt cold. Um, and is obviously he was suffering. Um, vet believes that he apparently sometime during the night, even though he was perfectly fine yesterday, sometime during the night he must have had a stroke. Um, and basically, he said he could refer me to an emergency vet hospital to, do further scopes and everything. But with Casey's age, he would have been 16 in March. With his age, for cat years, it's pretty advanced. Um, he, I just did not want to put him through all the any more tests or anything. And he was obviously hurting, and so the decision was made to let him go. Um, I was with him when they did the injections, and I had my hand on his heart when uh, he went, and I literally felt his heart stop beating, and then the vet confirmed that he was gone. And sorry. Needless to say, it's been a very rough day. Um, uh, Back when I got Chessie, my first cat, back in 2007, it was about that time. Casey was born on March 20th that year. It was the end of March then that I adopted Chessie, but Casey, he was born on March 20th. And it's about 10 days after he and his two sisters were born. Both of their parents were feral cats on my uncle's farm back home in Bucyrus. And anyways, their mom had gotten out on the road, so my aunt basically bottle fed all three of them and raised them. Later, weaning them onto solid food and everything. Um, I adopted him is towards the end of June. Uh, Unfortunately, with Chessie's heart condition at the time, I wasn't able to. We wanted to get that under control before I introduced another cat. So I didn't bring. Even though I adopted Casey, he ended up going to my mom and dad's house for a few months until I got the okay from the vet to introduce a new cat to Chessie. And anyways, brought Casey home that September. And first couple nights was obviously tense because Chessie was not happy with the new cat, and Casey was not happy with his new surroundings. Although he is okay with me. And that was on a Saturday night. That Tuesday night, Chessie and Casey were sitting side by side out at the feeder in the kitchen. And they were pretty close the whole time they were together, which is nearly 3 years before Chessie passed in August of 2010. Chessie had a heart condition that he was born with. The fact that he lived a little over 3.5 years, the vet said was amazing. That he, lived that long and didn't have any issues or show any external issues or anything. Casey was obviously lost when we lost Chessie. And then it was 5 weeks later is when I brought Smokey home. And Casey was not happy. I brought Smokey home on a Monday night. And that Wednesday night, I remember Smokey was on the food bin watching me make up my lunch while Casey was on the other side of the kitchen, not happy, and was glaring at Smokey. And Smokey, being the little kitten that he decided he was going to jump off the food bin, latch himself onto my thigh. As I was pulling him off, Casey came running over and literally got between me and Smokey, hissing away at Smokey to get Smokey away from me. So literally, Casey was protecting me that night from what he thought was somebody hurting me. That's how close Casey was to me. But then that Friday night, 4 days after Smokey came home, they had been best friends ever since. I'd come home, or I'd come down here, or if I was down in the basement, I'd come up from down the basement wondering why it was so quiet, and I'd find the two of them curled up together here on the couch or someplace, and they have been best friends ever since. Casey had one little bout where he was lethargic one evening, back in around 2013. Took him to the vet. Had to call the on-call vet, and she put him on an IV and kept him overnight. The next morning he was just fine. I know but like I was saying, ever since he was a kitten and he first came down here to my vet, he always became really aggressive with visiting the vet, and I basically would have to sedate him, give him an oral sedative to make him a little groggy to take him to the vet. But that night, back in 2013, I didn't have to sedate him, and then the next morning they told me he was starting to fight with him, and I was like, okay, great. That's, for one time, I'm glad that he was fighting with the vet. But anyways, he came out of that full recovery and everything. Past few years, he's had a sinus infection that, with basically, he would have sneezing fits with discharge. Vet would give me medicine to put him on for anywhere from a couple weeks to last 3 times it was 30 days. And it was always like a couple weeks afterwards the congestion and sneezing would come back. But this last time, this last medicine he was on, this is the 3rd time he was on it this last fall. First 2 times, sinus infection came back. This last time back in October. If I remember right, it was October 22nd I started on. It was 30 days, twice a day. Started him on the 22nd. By Halloween, 9 days later, his sinuses were completely cleared up. No sneezing fits whatsoever. And his energy level, it was through the roof. I mean, he literally, you would not think he was a senior cat. He was literally like a kitten. And last night, he would also get vocal at times even, which when he's wanting attention. But last night, he was perfectly fine. In fact, when I finish talking, I'll show a video here of the video I made last night on my phone, which was the last video I unfortunately got of him. so alert and everything. I think that's what's really getting me is he just went so fast, and um, it's just it's been a very difficult day, as you can imagine. But yeah, I've found the vomit. It was about 7:30, and then called the vet a little before 9, or just actually right around 9, and then they had me get him in there by 10. I was actually there early. We had to wait a little bit to get in. Uh, and then it was shortly before noon was when he was put to sleep. Um, since getting home, I tried. They gave me a box that we put him in um, there at the vet's office, and uh, as well as a couple blankets for to put around him. Um, I've got a couple cat toys that I've put in there that uh, I know he loved. There's like this one squeaker ball that uh, Chessie never played with it. I got it for Chessie, and Chessie never played with it. Casey always loved to wrestle with that thing. Smokey never messed with it, so that's going to be buried with him. Um, and then um, of course, golf ball, and there's a couple toys that my mom had gotten him back when he was up to their house. I never actually let him or any of the other cats mess with them because they were basically these yarn balls with strings of yarn hanging off of them, and I was always afraid that cats are going to chew on those and swallow the yarn, so I never let the cats play with those. But since they came with him from mom and dad's, I'm going to leave those in with him too. But then I'm going to take him up tomorrow to my mom and dad's to bury him out by their barn where we buried Chessie. Um, so it's been feels so different since I've been back home though. After that, uh, I was making lunch and I went to get in the fridge and found his sedative. The sedative had to be refrigerated, or kept refrigerated, and that's in the I put that in the trash as well as some vitamin powder that was out there for him for his sinuses. That's all in the trash. I got rid of that. I did not want that sitting around anymore. Um, anyways, Smokey he's calmed down. When I first got home, I've tried showing him Casey in the box, but as soon as I open the box, Smokey takes off. I don't know if it's because of the smell or the vet's office, or he senses something's not right with Casey in there, and he takes off because of that. But um, after I got back and finally calming myself enough to take a shower and get cleaned up and everything, I was getting out of the shower and Smokey was down here meowing his head off. And it wasn't the normal meowing like he's wanting attention or anything. It was basically his meow that he gives when something's wrong. So I know he's missing Casey too. We still got each other though. But I just keep telling myself though that you know the fact that he was literally born a wild cat, because both of his parents were feral cats on my uncle's farm. You know, the fact that he's lived as long as he has, um, you know, that obviously he was well taken care of. And he did have a good life, a lot better life than he would have had, you know, living outside um, like he was when he was born. Um, and, you know, he's had me, he's now gone on to be with Chessie again. Um, and, you know, he was here with Smokey. Smokey was an awesome friend with him. Um, as far as if I'm going to get another cat, fourth cat, I do not know. Um, Smokey, Smokey's coming up on being 13 years old next May. I'm not sure how he's going to handle having a kitten in the house. Um, and uh, I mean, I could adopt a, an older cat, but the thing is, older cat, they're going to be set in their ways, and I'm not sure how Smokey would handle that either. So, um, right now, I think it's just going to be the two of us. Uh, he's asleep in his cat bed right now, but it's his favorite spot, I think. But, you know, I think, you know, Casey did have a good life. And the fact that his sinuses for his last 2 months finally cleared up, and he was like a kitten again. You know, had a lot of energy. I mean, he was starting to show his age. Um, like out in the kitchen, he used to be able to jump from floor to table with no trouble. But this past year, he was going floor to chair to table. And so he was starting to show his age, but, you know, he never suffered. He is very active, very happy, and needless to say, he's going to be missed. Sorry to keep breaking down, but this is just hurting so bad today. I know it'll get better, but, you know, it's like I've heard, you know, time does not heal wounds. Time just helps you learn to cope with loss, and what's happened. So, uh, anyways, yeah, he had a good life. I'm gonna miss him. His headbutts. You know, he loves getting kisses on the forehead from me, and that was the last thing I did for him before we let him go. Um, I gave him a kiss on the forehead. I told him I loved him. Uh, but you know, when Chessie, I always called Chessie my big baby, and Casey, when I brought him home, he was smaller than Chessie at the time, so I called him my little baby. And then when Chessie passed and I brought Smokey home, Casey became my big buddy, and then Smokey became my little buddy. So uh, he had a couple nicknames. um, I always told him to, you know, no matter how frustrated I get, because there's been times, all three of the cats had done at one point or another have done something to get on my nerves or get into trouble. One thing I've always told them is, no matter how frustrated I get with you guys, I always love you guys. Because, sometimes my cats have been uh, more human than some humans I know, And I should have brought some Kleenex or something. But, yeah, it's it just feels so different right now without him, because normally he would be right here next to me on the couch or on the back of the couch or something. Um, but he had a good life. So, um, anyways, as promised, here's the video from last night. This is the way I will remember Casey. And then after the video, um, I've got some pictures I pulled out of different places I have them stored. I'm going to have to get all the cat pictures organized one of these days. But some pictures of him from the time when he's kitten to when he's at mom and dad's with their dog, and then when he came down here to be a Chessie and then Smokey. So, anyways, here's the last look at Casey. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing, Smokey? What you doing, buddy? What you doing? Here comes Mr. Jealous. Hi. How are you? You're just all jealous, aren't you? Mm-hmm. I'll go get changed and I'll vacuum after a while, okay? What do you think? Oh, he says. Let me keep this up all night. Now Smokey's gonna come up, isn't he? Smokey gonna come up here? Hmm? What do you think, Casey?